thinking a lot about food lately, about the habits we inherit, the things we grab on the go, and how our bodies suddenly start to respond differently in midlife. Our cells change, they don't process energy the same way, they store fat differently, and our cravings can feel relentless. We're told to just eat less or watch calories, cut out fat, but that misses the real story. It misses why some food leaves us tired, bloated, or feeling foggy. Today, we'll look at carbohydrates and fats and the foods that challenge our midlife bodies. I'll also provide a faith perspective and will allow science to tell us what actually works. Hey there, I'm Stephanie Shaw, and this is Hello Hot Flash, the podcast where midlife women can learn from guest experts and authors who discuss menopause and all that comes with this new chapter in our lives. Hello Hot Flash, where we learn to control the change and not let the change control us. What if hot flashes, exhaustion, anxiety, and brain fog aren't simply menopause symptoms, but messages? Ladies, midlife symptoms aren't just hormonal, they're invitations. That's why I'm hosting a free workshop, Menopause Isn't Just Hormonal, a faith and science path to healing in midlife. In this free workshop, we're connecting the dots between what's happening in your body, why your system feels constantly on edge, and how spiritual disconnection quietly shows up as physical burnout. Most menopause programs miss this completely. They leave God out of this season. We're combining medical clarity, nervous system support, and spiritual grounding so you leave feeling steady, supported, and hopeful again. You'll gain real understanding of your body, a new perspective on why past fixes didn't work, faith-anchored tools you can use immediately, and a pathway into healing and community. If you felt like God is doing something new in this season, but don't know how to step into it, this free workshop is your next right step. Head over to HelloHotFlash.com and click on the workshop link. Or you can type in HelloHotFlash.com/workshop. I cannot wait to meet you there. Everyone, here's to your health. Here's what's happening. As we move through perimenopause and menopause, hormone changes ripple through our systems. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone shift, and our metabolism, sleep, and even mood can all be affected. This isn't about looks, it's about function. So we want energy, clarity, and resilience. Many women assume weight gain or cravings are a matter of willpower, but the truth is our midlife bodies process the same foods differently now than they did when we were in our 20s. Often what happens is we go straight to restriction. So we eat less, skip meals, cut out the fats, eliminate carbohydrates, but that can sometimes backfire. Let me tell you a story about Luann. Luann was a client of mine and she lost 7 pounds in 3 weeks, not by eating less, but by eating more. Luann was working with someone else at the time and she was on a very restrictive diet and kept gaining weight. When she started working with me, I changed all of that. I had Luann include all 3 macros, proteins, carbohydrates, and healthy fats, and focused on balanced meals that stabilized blood sugar. Her body responded because she worked with her biology, not against it. She also stopped starving herself. Many of us are chasing trendy detoxes. I've been guilty of it myself. Or we assume calories are the main enemy. Science shows that skipping meals or cutting entire food groups increases cravings and our insulin spikes. You can't will your way out of biology, but you can understand it. So let's break it down. Let's talk a little bit about the science. I want you to know what is happening in your body. Think of your body as an ecosystem. So estrogen acts like a gardener, keeping inflammation in check, supporting healthy gut bacteria, and regulating fat storage. As estrogen declines, the ecosystem shifts. So carbohydrates, especially refined ones like white bread, pastries, sugary drinks, white rice, they're quick or fast fuel, but they trigger insulin spikes. High insulin encourages fat storage around the belly and can decrease muscle efficiency. That's what causes quote unquote skinny fat. So your weight may be normal, but muscle mass drops while visceral fat rises. So again, that fat that sits around our bellies. Here's a measurable marker, something you can do, not if you're driving, but if you're at home, you have a tape measure somewhere handy. This is something that you can do. Measure your waist at the narrowest point above your belly button and your hips at the widest point of your buttocks or your butt. Divide waist measurements by your hip measurement, okay? Ideally, when I say ideally, I know I hate to put us in holes of what science or what doctors are saying, but I'm just saying it, so go with me here. Ideally, women want to stay under 0.85 inches, okay? So higher ratios may indicate more visceral fat. And again, we said that's like around our stomach. And that visceral fat is also linked to insulin resistance, which is what? Diabetes, right? And heart risk. So this is more meaningful than weight alone because it tells you about your internal health. So maybe instead of getting on the scale, this type of measurable marker may help you make some informed decisions. Tracking matters, not just calories, but meals, movement, and mood. Our sponsor is Reverse Health, and Reverse Health helps you track exactly this, your food, your activity, and how you feel day to day. The link is in the show notes. Using tools like this gives you real feedback on how your choices affect your body. I'm sure we're going to transition from carbohydrates to fats now. So I'm sure that you've heard about fat-free diets. Everyone's going a fat-free diet, eliminate fat from your body. So let's talk about fats. Healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, fatty fish, which could be salmon, sardines, trout. They support hormone production and they help keep you full. But trans fats are man-made, so partially hydrogenated oils found in some fried foods, packaged snacks, and baked goods. Trans fats increase inflammation, raise bad cholesterol, and contribute to insulin resistance. You need to avoid those whenever possible. So if you're being told to go on a fat-free diet, ask for clarification. Am I really to go on a fat-free diet, or am I just to switch to healthy fats, right? So asking for that clarification is huge. Salt and highly processed foods also matter. They can affect your blood pressure and your bone health, and menopause already nudges our sodium retention up slightly. Even small, consistent choices make a difference. So maybe you can't eliminate every trans fat. If you can begin to eliminate some and start to add other healthy fats, all of this begins to balance itself out. God calls us to be intentional. He wants us to be intentional about participating in our health. So caring for our body is an act of wisdom, not perfection. Faith gives us the courage to engage with science without fear, guilt, or shame. So we honor God when we pay attention, learn the mechanisms, and respond thoughtfully. Scripture reminds us that our desires don't always align with what is best, but that doesn't make us failures. It simply makes us human. Engaging our biology with knowledge is a form of faithful action. So we don't ignore the science around here. We embrace it, and we do so confidently, knowing God equips us to act wisely. And just as important, we don't have to be perfect. When I read Romans 7:15, I breathe this huge sigh of relief. In Romans 7:15, Paul says, I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Isn't that like, it relates so much to food. Like, we don't want to eat the trans fats. We don't want to eat the unhealthy carbs. We hate doing it. We know what it does to our body, but still we do it. So there's a little bit of relief in knowing that we're just human, but there are ways for us to slowly make those transitions so that we can live a more healthful life and be better stewards of the body that God has given us. The struggle, air quote, to get it right is real, and we should not feel condemnation. Biology is intersecting with the desires that we have, right? So how do you act on this new information? Start by asking yourself, which foods leave me tired, bloated, or foggy? And then track your responses for a week. Again, the Reverse Health app can help with that, right? So let's pull this all together. Focus on minimally processed carbohydrates. So you want to eat whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and avoid refined flour and sugar and overly processed foods. You want to eat healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, fatty fish, and avoid trans fat, so any man made processed oils. And also make sure that you're including protein at each meal. Protein is a conversation that we'll go into at a later time on another episode. But protein is very important as well, especially for women as we age. It helps maintain muscle and stabilizes our blood sugar. Prioritize balance over restriction. Eating more of the right things often works better than eating less of the wrong things. All right? You are not broken. I say that so much around here. You are underinformed or may be underinformed, and that's something that you can change. If you want practical science-based guidance that helps you navigate these midlife changes confidently, I want to invite you to a workshop that I host. I host it a couple of times per month. And in the workshop, I give you step-by-step strategies to build out a meal plan and a faith plan that will support you. So we talk about all the macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. I talk with the people who come to the workshop, decide what works for them, what works for their family, and then help them build out a meal plan. And in the workshop, we can't leave faith off the table because what do I always say? Food and faith. We also build a plan that's going to help us in our faith walk as well. So I think you will really enjoy the workshop. I want you to head over to hellohotflash.com and click on the workshop link, and you can find out more information on dates and how to register. The workshop is free. Again, it's hellohotflash.com and click on the workshop link. I'll also put the link into the show notes. Everyone, here's to your health. You know that moment when you look at your life and think, I'm eating well, I'm exercising, I've tried the supplements, so why do I still feel off? Here's what no one tells women in midlife. You can take the HRT, track macros, do breath work, and still feel lost because midlife isn't healed by choosing health or faith. You need both. Your symptoms aren't just hormonal, they're signals, and sometimes they're spiritual signals. That's why I'm hosting a workshop for women who want real clarity about what's happening in their bodies, why past solutions didn't stick, and how to move forward with science and faith working together. The workshop is titled Menopause Isn't Just Hormonal, a faith and science path to healing in midlife. You'll leave the workshop with practical tools, faith-anchored strategies, and a path forward that actually makes sense for this season. If you've been feeling like there has to be more than this workshop is for you. Head over to hellohotflash.com and click on the workshop link. Again, that's hellohotflash.com and click on the workshop link. I can't wait to see you there. The information shared in this episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, including adaptogens, especially if you have underlying health conditions or take medications. The views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Hello Hot Flash.